We may be able to see the ladies' clock in just a moment because it could be quite significant. Joyce Smith has the fastest time by a Briton. But if we even saw the men's stock, we could take 10 minutes off it and we'd know, because this could be the second fastest time ever by a Briton. Coming up to 2 hours 30 minutes, we think, and definitely in that case, this is the second fastest run ever by a British lady.
Her husband and coach David will be there at the finish line. I think the 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Priscilla's in second, Sarah Rowe's in third, and Veronique Marot, who's an adopted British girl from France, I think she's in fourth. That's a remarkable run. John Anderson went across to congratulate her. David Moorcroft's coach.
Actually, there's a little variation on the times. We made it 2 hours 30 minutes 4 seconds, but we've also been given a time of 2 hours 30 minutes 10 seconds. But it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that Priscilla Walsh has taken second place in the London Marathon with the second fastest time ever by a British lady. Here the third girl, Sarah Rowe, who's only 21 and runs for Dartmouth.
This is the girl that turned from hockey to athletics, born in West Germany, Chelsea College of Physical Education. Began road racing only in 1981. 5 feet 4.5, 7 stone, and tough as nails.
Sarah Roll finishing, and she could get an Olympic place. Don Ritchie in the background, 39 years old, of Aberdeen. He's finishing as well. Just over 2 hours 31. What a good run by this young lady. Very young for a marathon runner at 21. But I would think she's done enough there to be picked for the Olympic Games. In fact, it's the third best ever time by a United Kingdom girl athlete. Well, now a check on the finish of the men's race, and these the top 5. The winner, Charlie Spedding of Gateshead. In second place, Kevin Foster of Gateshead. Third, Dennis Foles of Cardiff. Fourth, Dahl of Norway. In fifth place, Lavenborg of Denmark. And Ron Hill there on the way, one of the great athletes, and in fact in training, he's ex-Commonwealth champion, ex-European champion. This, a man who's run the equivalent of 4 times round the world.
Just chatting to him last night, he said he'd run about 2:35, and he'd try and chat one or two of the two of them with him through the finishing stages. He's just celebrated 20 years without a day missing of running twice a day, except for Sundays on which he ran once. I think it's his, it's coming up to his 73rd marathon, but he's never missed a day's running in 20 years. Ron Hill, the marathon runner's marathon man.
That's the scene at the Mall, and still at Tower Bridge, the fun runners going through. Thoroughly enjoying themselves, but they're not halfway yet.
The Onion Man, Karen Havelock-Woods just gone through. Tracy Lord from Hoddesdon, a neighbour. They've gone 12 miles, 26.2. It's the end of the road for them. Amanda Edwards, 18-year-old from Wakefield. Still taking liquid. This is at 17.5 miles. Middle of the road runners.
Incidentally, we've just had the 4th girl to finish, we believe, and it's Veronique Marot of Leeds City Athletic Club.
This is the girl who's Leeds City Athletic Club, born in France, but wants to be British and wants to run for Britain, and she's just become naturalised.
finishing just over 2:34, and that's a very good run indeed. So the marathon selectors have got a bit of a problem, both in the men's and the women's events. Do they pick Joyce Smith on her reputation and the strength of her running previously? Joyce with such a tremendous record, but missing the race today. And what do they do about the men? Will Hugh Jones and Jeff Smith go, or will they settle for the first three in the London Marathon?
I think the crowd on the left there, representing the Gurkhas, awaiting the regiment. It's not the same regiment that ran last year. And the Gurkhas are running both as a group and as individuals. Some of them trying to qualify for the Olympic Games. They're around 2 hours 30 men. There's their man. The Gurkha Regiment, the 10th Gurkha Regiment. Gobinda of the Gurkha Rifles. And there'll be a group of them that will form up as they did last year. And incidentally, the Gurkhas very proud that they're here, part of the British Army, and they still have the only living BC in their group. Captain in their group here today, the only living BC in the British Army.
Just looking at that scene and the Mall, what a difference it will be in an hour or so when the bulk of the competitors come through. And the 3 hours 40 group, they come through, well, some 2,500 in 3 hours 40 minutes.
Olympic chances any harm, does it?
Well, I certainly hope I'm going to be picked after doing that. I believe Kevin Foster was next, and I don't know what time he did, but I think he's run a good time. And this is the big race. This is the one where nearly all of us have turned out, and I think the people who run well today should be the ones who get picked.
Charlie, let me ask you, a lot of people talk about the wall in a marathon race. Is it something that top marathon runners experience?
Yeah, half of them did today, because they went too fast. We're actually running out of energy. It's something that happens occasionally, but if you prepare yourself properly, it shouldn't happen. but you can die and slow up an awful lot in a race, like most of the British runners did today. A lot of them.
Was there
halfway?
I'm sorry. Was there any time when you thought you might hit it, because they kept putting on spurts, didn't they, in the beginning?
No, I felt fairly comfortable. I mean, you know, as comfortable as you can in a marathon, but I never felt in any great distress or problems until the far side of the Westminster Bridge. It was the first time I had a real problem.
Charlie, congratulations. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Perhaps be able to talk to Charlie at more length later on. Meanwhile, he's hardly sweating, having finished the marathon, and the other athletes still streaming through. Peak period's not arrived yet.
First wheelchair athlete Kevin Breen in sight, the Irishman. And I've seen Gillian Horowitz, the Aldershot girl, go through. There's Kevin in green. 2 hours 38:44, his lifetime best for a marathon. There are 28 in wheelchairs. Lovely shot of Admiralty Arch. There's the Mall, up to Buckingham Palace. St James's Park, looking resplendent. Kevin Breen now in birdcage walk. No problem with the wheelchairs getting mixed up with the massive runners. They were given their clear start today, and it's worked well. Specially designed wheelchair, lightweight. Look at it. And what a cheer he's getting.
athletes streaming past Traitors Gate. They're at the 22-mile mark. I wonder if they're still going over Tower Bridge at the 12-mile mark. Can't see any particular movement there, so it looks as if most of the field now has gone through 12 miles. Oh, we've got one or two still. Well, this is about 12 miles. So they've still got the prospect of some 14 miles to go. They've been going well over 2.5 hours now, and that is Philippa Sands. Comes from Wimbledon. She was looking for a 4-hour time. I think that's already out of reach, but happy enough. Totally untroubled, but a long journey still ahead. Finishing there, Su Liang, who was supposed to be the best of the Chinese, but he too was paid for going with the early pace. He's dropped way back through the field. In fact, he's a man who's run 2 hours 13, but he's way outside that today. And certainly that pace by the Tanzanians has proved suicidal for everyone apart from Ikenga. And in the end, of course, he paid and finished in 6th place.
On the mile, on the left, Mike Karifalides, the second man in his wheelchair, the Haringey athlete. Looking pretty tired, but he's an experienced marathon man. He was expected to give Kevin Breen a hard race, but Kevin already, I should think at the finishing mark now. Mike Karifalides is his best, 2 hours 52:15. And the third wheelchair athlete there is Gordon Perry. Now, he's done remarkably well because the best he's ever done before is 3 hours 20, and he's right up with Mike Karifalides. The arms and shoulders of a weightlifter. Mike having a look to see how he's getting on, just hanging on to 2nd place.
Got an unofficial figure, actually, at the moment, of 300 having finished already.
That's the lightweight racing wheelchair, the Chariots of Fire. But he's still behind Kevin Breen. But he really is roaring down the home straight as Mike Karifalides. Well, he is, Kevin Breen. At the finish. First man home on wheels, and Mike Karifalides pushing on after him.
Winner of the wheelchair race is Kevin Breen of Dublin, #1. Beating his personal best by about 5 minutes.
David Pegg's Coventry Godiva, 4:24.
These athletes finishing and these athletes 3 miles to go. Look at them pouring through now. I've just been checking on the peak periods. We get some 2,000 through in 3 hours 20 minutes. That's followed in the next 10 minutes between 3 hours 20 and 3 hours 30, some 2,200, and then another 2,256 last year between 3:30 and 3:40. But as we said at the start, the percentage of finishers in the London Marathon really is quite astounding. The percentage in 1981, when there were some 7,000 athletes, 91%. In the next year, 16,300 athletes, 96% finished. And last year, when there were 16,000 starters, some 95% finishing. Really are remarkable figures. And looking at today's marathon, well, there's going to be a very, very high percentage indeed once more.
Apart from that high percentage finishing, the times are getting much better over the under 3 hours, because it looks as though there's over 300 finished in 2.5 hours, which is incredible. And the thing that I marvel at now is the organisation that's now just beginning to go into action to handle all these people finishing. And I think Chris Brasher and his team have done a fantastic job in the organisation here. And I think they've been very, very well supported by the GLC, because you can just see behind the scenes all the organisation that's gone into it. And it's gone so smoothly. That's really the impressive thing from my point of view. The water feed stations are looking good. They know exactly what to do. There's no queuing or anything. It's really great.
Some of those 500,000 cups. Lots of examples of help and aid. And I suppose we're likely to see the signs of fatigue now. Okay, 7.64. We've seen Gordon Stewart go through.
Well, there are still thousands and thousands out on the road. Their one ambition is to finish. But in the meantime, we can have a recap on the race.
A world record field of 21,000 set off from 2 starts either side of Blackheath Common at 9:30 this morning, and provided once again one of the most impressive sights in British sport. In one group were the less experienced women athletes, the slower men, and the men running a marathon for the first time. Ahead of them a journey of 26 miles, 385 yards. In the other group were the elite men, led for well over half the race by the Tanzanians Ikanga and Bari, who pulled clear of the chasing bunch. It was the same for the leader in the women's race, Ingrid Christensen of Norway, who stormed away on a world record pace after running the first few miles with Mary Cotton of Birchfield Harriers. There was the usual turnout of novelty competitors, and this man found another way of doing it. Another race within the race was for wheelchair athletes, and the leader, and indeed the eventual winner, was Kevin Breen of Ireland. So, after just over an hour and approaching halfway, it was the Tanzanians still ahead, but while the gap was there to the chasing athletes, it was closing all the time. Bob Wiseman was still going. He's the oldest competitor in the race at 81, now a familiar figure in the London Marathon. No one was catching Ingrid Christensen in the women's race, except at last the men, who'd started 10 minutes later. And by now, Gateshead's Charlie Spedding had caught the leaders. And then, after just under 2 hours, 10 minutes, it was indeed Charlie Spedding of Gatesfield Harriers who arrived at Westminster Bridge to win the 1984 London Marathon. And about 14 minutes later, Ingrid Christensen came home the second fastest of all time, 2 hours, 24:26.
So, the remarkable scenes in the capital city continue. The running of the 1984 marathon with a world record entry of 21,000. We're still not quite sure how many started, but a remarkably high number finishing, and the peak period still to come. Still, they're pouring up Birdcage Walk, but the rush hour is not due for about half an hour to 3/4 of an hour. W851, Elizabeth Long, who comes from Slough. Still a long way to go. An uncomfortable run for her, but she's enjoying it. Well, now a check for you on the results. Won by a smiling Charlie Spedding of Gateshead in 2 hours, 9 minutes, 57 seconds, guaranteeing surely a place for him and the British team at the Olympic Games. In second place, Kevin Foster of the same club, 2:11:41, and third, Dennis Fells of Cardiff, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 12 seconds. The first three in the ladies' race, Ingrid Christensen of Norway with the second fastest time in history, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 26 seconds. Second, Priscilla Welsh of Great Britain, the second fastest Briton ever, 2 hours, 30 and 6. And third, Sarah Roll, only 21, 2 hours, 31, 28. For the time being, from the London Marathon, goodbye. The 1984 London Marathon. The men's race won by Charlie Spedding of Gateshead, and the ladies by Ingrid Christensen of Norway. These were the leading placings in the two races. Charlie Spedding of Gateshead, the winner of the men's race, in 2 hours, 9 minutes, 57 seconds, a time that should certainly take him to the Olympic Games. In second place, also from Gateshead, Kevin Foster, 2 hours, 11 minutes, 41 seconds. And third from Cardiff, Dennis Fowles, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 12 seconds. The ladies' race won by Ingrid Christensen of Norway, and the second fastest time ever by a lady, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 26 seconds. Second, Priscilla Welsh of Great Britain, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 6 seconds. And in third place, that, by the way, is the second fastest time ever by a Briton. And in third place, 21 years old Sarah Rowell of Dartford Harriers, 2 hours, 31 minutes, 22 seconds. Now, just before we look at the thousands who are still running and meet a few along the way, a brief look back on this morning's events, started by a Royal Artillery 16-pounder nearly 3.5 hours ago.
A world record field of 21,000 set off from 2 starts either side of Blackheath Common at 9:30. In one group, the less experienced men and women athletes, and the men running a marathon for the first time. And in the other group were the elite men, led for well over half the race by the Tanzanians Ikanga and Bari, who pulled well clear of the chasing bunch. It was the same for the leader in the women's race, Ingrid Christensen of Norway, who stormed away on a world record pace. Another race within the race was for wheelchair athletes, and the leader over Tower Bridge and the eventual winner was Kevin Breen of Ireland. After just over an hour and approaching halfway, it was the Tanzanians still ahead, but while the gap was there to the chasing athletes, it was closing all the time. But the marathon is not just about leaders. It is, more than anything, about the masses of fun runners taking part. And by now, they were some 8 miles adrift. No one was catching Ingrid Christensen in the women's race, except at last the men, who'd started 10 minutes later. By now, the Tanzanians had been caught by Charlie Spedding of Gateshead and his teammate Kevin Foster. And with Big Ben showing 20 minutes to midday, it was Spedding who approached the finish at Westminster Bridge in front and surely on his way to the Olympic Games. It was by far the best performance and the best win of his life in 2 hours, 9 minutes, 57 seconds. Celebrations for him, and then home came Ingrid Christensen to complete the second fastest women's marathon of all time in 2 hours, 24 minutes, 26 seconds.
Well, it's well over an hour since the winners finished, and these, the athletes coming through and checking their times. They started at 9:30, and this is still very respectable running indeed. Looking back, last year, the number of finishers inside 3 hours, 30 minutes was very high indeed. They were expecting something in the region of 6,000 or 7,000 today.
Catherine's Dock looking resplendent. The weather has been very kind. You can see the wind whipping those waves up just a little, but when the sun came out, it took the chill off that wind, and it's helped considerably.
The Dutch bridge at St Catherine's Dock. And that the scene at the Tower. Those cobbles very, very awkward to run on when you've already covered 22 miles. But they're streaming through there. Athletes who will finish in just over 4 hours. They're 3 miles, or 4 miles rather, from the finishing point. These athletes much closer to finishing. They're entering the last mile as they stream along the mile. Masses still pouring through Admiralty Arch. And Jimmy Savile, on his annual trip around the streets of the capital city, well, he's run dozens of marathons. And it was reported that he was running this one for himself today. It's normally for charity, and that puts a great strain on someone who's got to be sure of starting and finishing. Jimmy, surrounded as usual by admirers, and so many people use his experience because he's run in so many marathons. He can judge the pace accurately and certainly never makes the mistake of running too fast and not finishing. John Conte, the former light heavyweight champion of the world, making his way along the mile at his own pace, taking his own time, and of course he's a man who's completed the marathon before. Meanwhile, let's go out and meet one of the competitors in the area of the Tower.
Well, here's another familiar face, Peter Duncan from Blue Peter. How are you doing?
All right, Bob, thank you. But I'm regretting the lack of training more than ever this time.
Really? Well, you remember that year that I met you and you were in total distress and Simon was trying to encourage you, but you look happy this year.
Yeah, well, I collapsed that year, so I haven't quite gone as far as that this year. But my hair's turned green. I don't know how that happened.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, I knew that nobody at home would notice that, but what's that all in aid of?
But it's Biddy Baxter's idea, headed to Blue Peter. She said, dye your hair green and all the kids will see you, see. And it's worked.
And have the kids been good en route?
Yeah, lovely. Every time I stop, they push me.
You're going to make it now. Well done, Peter. Bye.
Hey, how's it going?
Not so bad.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Bit heavily dressed, aren't you, for this?
Just a bit, yes. Oh, I'll run out of water.
What's this for?
What's
Is that
it
your
for?
pacemaker?
I wish it was, I wish it was.
And the patch on the eye can't be helping.
No, that's right. I thought it was a pretty harmless idea to start with, but it's turned out quite warm, really. But it's all right. Started off with that Viking ship, but I'm afraid they went away.
That's history for you.
It is, but we won in the end, didn't we? So it's not too bad.
Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.
Now, who am I with now?
This is the great Garibaldi.
The great Garibaldi, yeah, with his biscuits, yeah?
Yes, you know the biscuits.
What name is it? What's your real name?
My real name is Ted Larkin, but don't let everybody know.
But Ted, you're struggling a little bit here, are you? Or can I persuade you to have a little jog with me?
Well,
You see, you're nearly there.
yeah, are we?
Well, you've got about 4 miles to go, and you're obviously feeling the stress
Yeah,
and
just a
strain.
little bit of strain, Bob, but I'm not used to these cobbles.
No, well,
These cobbles are playing the old plate of meat up.
everybody finds the cobble's a bit of a problem. It hits the old cramp, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I've been lucky so far. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, you know, and hope that the other 4 miles are not so long as the 22 I've already done.
Well, all the country are looking at you now, and they're all willing you on, and I'm sure you'll make it. Bye. Bye.
Mickey, can you hear me?
Yes, just about.
I can't hear you very well.
Let's take it off.
Why not? Ah, there is a man under there.
Gosh.
It must be absolutely boiling in
Not
that
too
gear.
bad. I'm pouring plenty of water over my head, so I'm getting away with that, actually.
Yeah. What kind of comments have you had on the way round?
Oh, it's well done, Donald, and things like that.
Why Mickey Mouse, then?
I did last year, actually. It's for charity, really, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Just throwing in a few bob for charity.
What kind of time do you think you're going to finish in?
I've got no idea what I'm doing, actually.
Yeah. You need a cat to chase you, really, don't you?
Something like that, yeah.
Good luck.
OK, thank you. Bye-bye.
OK. Well, I've got another walker just for the moment. You're in a lot of trouble, eh?
Well, I've had a bad back for the last fortnight and I shouldn't really be walking, I suppose, now, but I've got this good cause and I'm going to get to the end, don't you worry.
Do you mean the doctor said to you shouldn't really run?
No, the doctor cleared me on Thursday for running, but said take it easy, and like a fool I didn't.
What do you mean, you went careering over Tower Bridge at a time you shouldn't?
No, I think I went reasonably sedately, but, you know, it just wasn't there, I'm afraid.
Do you think you'll get a jog now from now on?
Oh, I'm going to have a jog, yes, every so often have a break into a jog, just to relieve the boredom.
I'll start it going. You ready?
Come on, now.
Off you go. Here we go. Good lad. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bernie! How are you? How's it going?
What rhymes with Chinese lacquered? We're in very good shape, actually.
Kerry Packer.